What's going on, guys? I'm Travis at Fish Hook Bait Company. I want to get on here today, guys, and give y'all a tip and trick video on how I fish my jigs and how I rig them. I think you're going to be surprised on a couple of them. First and foremost, I use a 7.3 medium heavy rod with a 8-to-1 reel and 20-pound line. And that rod setup and reel setup is usually what I use when I'm doing a lot of skipping or short pitching. You can get really accurate with that rod. It has a soft tip on it, so you can actually pinpoint cast it and land that bait really soft on the water majority of the time. A lot of guys recommend you to have a heavy action rod. I don't recommend a heavy action rod just for the simple fact that you have a tendency to overpower the fish and rip a big hole in their mouth, and you're going to lose a lot more fish on a heavy action rod than what you would on a medium heavy. If I change my rod setup, I usually go to like a 7.6 medium heavy, and that's for when I'm making really, really long casts, bombing it out there a really long way. When I just want something to pick up a little extra line on those long casts to get a good hook set. Now, when you're fishing this bait, a lot of times you're not going to feel the bite on it. I would go ahead and say probably 8 out of 10 times you're not going to feel the bite on the jig. And what I'll do is, like if I'm flipping or skipping, I'll pitch my bait out there or skip it up underneath the dock, and I'll strip off about 2 strips off of my reel of line so that allows that bait to fall on a slack line. 9 times out of 10, that's when you're going to get your bite, is on the initial fall, especially shallow water. A big jig or a big spinner bait, we've learned over the years that big swim baits have a drawing presence to them, and so do jigs. If you get it in the correct spot, you'll have a drawing presence to that fish. That fish will be drawn to that bait, especially when he's sitting there thinking, oh, well, this stupid bluegill or this stupid crawfish is just sitting out here in the middle. Yeah, I'm going to go eat him. He don't know who he's messing with. But they're just, bass are optimists. If you put it in front of them, and they're most of the time they're going to bite. But when I initially throw it in there, and I'll wait, and then if I don't feel them, so like I'll pull on my rod when I get my line tight, and I'll wait for them to pull back just a little bit. And if they pull back, I never drop my rod after that. I just go from wherever my rod is up to my hook set finish, and then I just start reeling. And the reason why that is because you'll lose a lot of fish or miss them from dropping your rod. Once you feel those fish, you never want to give them any slack whatsoever with the jig. If they don't have it, when I pick up on it, I'll pull it and I'll just drag it on that bottom. Little short hops. You don't have to do real big long hops. You don't want to overwork this bait. And that could be said to even a Texas rig or a Carolina rig or any kind of bottom bouncing bait. You don't want to overwork the bait, and you just kind of pull on it a little bit, 5-6 inches at a time, and just let it stop, let it sit there, and then so like eventually you'll come to a piece of cover. And when I hit that piece of cover, I'll sit there, I'll hit it, and I'll hold it there for a second, and then everybody hears that famous one thump with the jig, that one hard thump. Well, most of the time when you get that one hard thump and you feel him bite, that's when you've pulled it up to that log or that piece of cover, and you just sit there for a second, and then he'll just thump it real hard, and then it's time to set the hook. If they don't do that, I'll crawl it over that cover, and as soon as it comes off the top of that cover, and I'll let it fall, and I'll drop my rod, and it'll fall on that slack line more natural, and then they'll pick it up right then. The way I rig these jigs, I use one trailer in particular, and that is a Zoom Baby Z-Crawl or Z-Crawl Junior. I absolutely love that bait. It has really, if you notice, it has really good flat sides to it. It has a really good profile on it. I rig it 2 different ways. I either rig it this is the way I rig it when I'm pitching and flipping or skipping it. It makes it stays up there a lot better. Everybody rigs their trailers this way. I'll just thread it on like that. And I'll throw a little super glue there if the trailer starts getting wore out. You don't have to. You can just change the trailer out. But it really gives it a really, really good profile, as y'all can tell. And it makes it this bait stand up even better than what it is because it's a real buoyant bait. It has a lot of action, like a lot of action. So the other way I rig it, if you can see that hook slot there where Zoom gives y'all, I go to the top of that hook slot and then I'll cut it there, and I'll take it and I'll rig it just like an old pork frog, and I'll rig it that way. I have a tendency of doing this more during the winter time than I do any other time of the year for some reason, and it may just depend on the day. Sometimes on the day, even during the summertime, they'll want it rigged this way. I don't know particularly why they like it this way, but they do. I guess it gives it more of a natural presentation because it gives it a side-to-side wobble. Also, during the wintertime, on this one here, if you can see, if you see the flaps on it, see how much wider this side is and this side? I've already cut the flaps off of this one. But what I'll do to cut down on my action is I'll just cut the sides of each one of those. And what that does, it just cuts down your action. During the wintertime, you don't want to really, I'll stay with the crawl shape, but it's going to cut it down to where it's not going to be as erratic action. It's going to be a more natural presentation. And they love that during the wintertime. It's an absolute hammer. When you're picking your colors, I fish 4 colors. They're all 4 colors that I made. Most of the time, I throw what we call Pines Perch. It is a green pumpkin with some purple and blue and copper flake. It's turned into my favorite color. I used to throw what we call a Perky Perch majority of the time, but I've caught so many big fish on this color the last couple months. Like I've caught an 8.6, a couple 7s, a bunch of 5s and 6 pounders. I've really been tearing them up on this jig the last couple months. But when I'm picking a color, I try to make my bait blend into the watercolor, except for during the wintertime. During the wintertime, I have a tendency to fish the blacks and the reds and the blues and stuff, just because it stands out a little bit more. The water's usually a little bit dirtier, so the bass need a little bit more help trying to find that fish or that bait. But any other time of the year, I try to blend that bait in with the watercolor. Even during the wintertime, if it gets really, really rough, I'll go, and I'm in some cleaner water than usual. I'll go to like the Pines Perch or the Perky Perch color. But when I decide to pick up these 2 colors, the Texas Blue and the Texas Red, usually this one is imitating a crawfish. I usually pick it up around the end of January. We got really big crawfish in our area, and they're solid black and red, and usually you'll start seeing them emerge around the end of January. I'll fish this on up until probably the 1st of April, middle of April. Even when the water, if you get that black tannic water color, I'll still fish it. You just got to play with which color that they want in a particular day. Black and blues, tried and true. It's an awesome year-round color, but I usually get away from it around April also. It just depends on the watercolor. If the water's dirty the rest of the time of year, I'll still fish with it. But when it starts warming up and everything, usually the weather stabilizes and you'll get that cleaner water, and I'll go to those 2 colors. Trailer color, I use Tilapia Magic, or how about I do it this way? So on this particular jig, when I'm trying to pick my trailer color out, I usually use a Tilapia Magic or a California 420 with the Pines Perch. With the Perky Perch, I usually use a California 420 or a Watermelon Red, and these are all in that Z-Crawl Junior. And with the Texas Blue, I use a Blue Sapphire or a South African Special. Sometimes I'll use black and blue, or like a solid black if I can find them, but those colors are really, really hard to find. And then on my black and red one, or what we call Texas Red, I'll use South African Special or I'll use California 420. I try to keep it simple on the colors, guys. You don't, just keep it as simple as possible the way I look at everything. It don't have to be extravagant. A fish is a fish is a fish, or is a bass is a bass is a bass. You just got to keep it simple. And the biggest thing I can say with jig fishing, pay attention to your bait. Make sure you understand what all you're crawling that jig through. Pay attention to the fall. How many seconds does it get to the bottom? How many seconds is it going to take for them to pick it up? A lot of times they want it dead sticking, and you'll pitch it out there next to that bush or that isolated piece of grass or in that brush pile, and you either crawl it up in there or just let it sit there, and I'll actually count the seconds on how many times or how many seconds it takes before they pick it up or before I get a bite, or paying attention to really what I'm having to do with that bait to get those fish to bite, because every little bite, every little thing you do will tell you a story of how to get bit again. And guys, it's really, really fun. I love fishing these. They're a lot easier to rig up than a Texas rig, and usually you catch a little bit bigger fish on a jig than you do a Texas rig, and I'm really, really proud of these. They catch a lot of fish. But man, guys, that's about all I got today. Like I said, it was short and simple. If y'all do want to purchase these jigs, y'all can get them at fishhookbaitcompany.com and use the discount code FishHook10. I'm really appreciative of everybody that watches all my videos, all my shorts, everybody that makes a purchase. Y'all have been a true blessing to us, and I'm just trying to give y'all some information and maybe make y'all more successful on catching more fish, especially with my baits. It doesn't make me any prouder to see somebody catch one of their best fish they ever caught in their life, or their personal best on one of my baits, because that's really why I'm doing it, guys. Is I get an enjoyment out of tinkering with baits, and I'm trying to help people catch more fish, and I that's about it, guys. I really can't explain it, but thank y'all for tuning in. Please subscribe and like it, comment too, and I'll see y'all in the next one, guys. Thank y'all.
So guys, this is why you fish a cover jig right there. 5-6 pound fish.